All right, I like it. Let's move on to the next one. This is a big one. I'm excited to hear.
This is the business one.
This is we're getting off of the funny stuff and getting to some good stuff. How has a failure or apparent failure set you up for later success? And do you have a favorite failure of yours?
Absolutely. Failures. Well, they happen every day to all of us. There's no way. There's no escaping failures, regardless of what school taught us. There's no escaping failures. My favorite failure, and it was really more, it felt like a failure at the time. In hindsight, it wasn't, but it could have easily been a failure. And for a lot of our competitors at the time, it was a failure, and even now, and even in between now. So we historically used H-2B visas. We've been talking a little bit about this earlier. We used H-2B visas to get all of our mow crew, all of our mow jobs done, which historically was our bread and butter. It's still in a lot of ways our bread and butter. We're mowing almost, combined, both companies, we're mowing over 6,000 jobs a week this year. All companies combined, both companies that mow yards. And so at the time, we literally had just launched Executive Lawn Care at this time. And the plan was we were going to use H-2B visas in our marked trucks and our logoed shirts and the teams that we had built the last couple of years. This is in 2016. So we had built these teams over 3+ years, made an acquisition of a company to get their H-2B guys that had been well-trained and been working together for years. And here it's 2016 and it's mid-March and we're supposed to get 30 guys the first part of April that are going to do all of our 1,000+ mows. At the time, we only mowed about 1,300 homes a week. And we had a 3-week period where we had to literally completely replace our labor force because the Department of Labor said, you're qualified, you've got your people coming. However, your paperwork's in a big high stack on somebody's desk and it's delays and it's going to probably be the end of May. Well, 8 weeks of not being able to mow our clients' yards, our clients are not going to accept that. Right. And we didn't accept that. And so we decided, you know what, we really didn't have a backup plan, but we kind of had a backup plan. And we decided we're going to go out, we've got 3 weeks, we've got to find 30 independent contractors who can each mow, I say 30, maybe it was less than that. We needed 20. We needed 20 independent contractors. And we decided, so what we did is literally drove around neighborhoods for 3 weeks. And literally with anybody that was mowing yards, we'd stop them and we'd hand them cards and we'd show them how dense our routes were and show them that we need to get them to mow these routes. And between myself and 2 or 3 other gentlemen that helped me, we managed to do that. But in that moment, it was life or death. Like that was a failure. We were counting on these. We had spent years building these teams, these qualified guys. They wanted to come to work. They were not happy to not be able to come to work that year. But we had to shift in about a 3-week period. Other companies literally closed up. They said we have no way to do the work. And they literally shut down and looked elsewhere for new work, and they shut their businesses down. So that was at the time seemed like a huge failure. And of course, I love that failure because it ended up being a huge catalyst to setting us up to be able to do our lawn care focus, which was the focus from 2016 and even into now in a lot of ways. But it also allowed us to focus in on building our management team, building our internal teams, building our lawn care teams, our technicians, as opposed to being so focused on mowing and all of the moving parts that in-house mowing required.
Well, I hear you say it was a failure. When I hear the story, though, I hear it as a huge success because you were on the brink of collapsing in a way, and you adapted, and you shifted, and you put the hard work in. And probably through some grace of the good Lord.
So I'll give you another failure.
All right.
That really was, no matter how you look at it. But again, here's the thing. On one hand, no matter how you look at it, failures are failures and they're failures. But at the same time, no matter how you look at it, unless you end up in the ground, all failures end up leading to something. Hopefully you learned something. I mean, even if you're the most ignorant person in the world, hopefully you learned something from your failures.
Yep.
Don't do that again. I touched a hot stove. I won't touch that again. You
Yep.
learn something from your failure of touching that hot stove. But another failure that comes to mind is Sharky's Pool Service. This is a shout out to Langley's behind the cameras. Sharky's Pool Service was a great failure. We had tried to build a pool business from 2013 through 2015, Josh and I. And in that time period, we weren't really doing much with it. We had like 20 clients, which wasn't enough to do anything with other than to be a headache. But we had 20 clients, but we really weren't doing anything with this. And I had for years tried, I like working with people that I know and trust and love. And so for years I had tried to get Langlitz to come and work with me. I believed that he could, I thought we could work well together because of my skill, the things that I found interesting and I was skilled in, and then the things he was. But then I tried to fit a, what do you call it, a round peg into a square hole or vice versa. And I said, Jeremy, you can clean pools. You never worked outside a day in your life, but you can clean pools. And it wasn't working outside that ended up being the problem. It was that he's a perfectionist. And in pools, you have chemicals, and literally, but they're never exact. You're within ranges.
You just tortured Langlitz. That's
I know
all you did.
I tortured him. I still torture him, though. I think he's gotten used to it now. But I hope. But anyways, the reason I think that was such an awesome failure was because we had to go through that to get him partnered with us. And then 6 months after we partnered, keep in mind we had been trying to do this pool business and had 20 clients. He came into what was already a struggle and was kind of like, hey, we're struggling with this. Here's our plan on how you can make this successful if you just do these things. Well, we were wrong. I had a marketing plan that didn't work. And I'd say, and by the way, those are the failures I hate. Marketing plans that you have all these grandiose ideas. Those are the ones you ask, what's your favorite failure? This is a favorite failure because it ended up leading me and Jeremy to working together in a way that I think works and has worked for the last 5 years in a lot of different ways, by the way. Not just one way, but a lot of different things Jeremy's been able to help Josh and I tremendously with and our teams. And so that was a failure. But I'll also mention the ones I hate. I hate marketing failures because I have these ideas and I'm like, oh, this is going to be the secret sauce and it's going to do all this, and then it does nothing. And it seems like every year those ideas and strategies get more expensive. But luckily, in one of John Maxwell's books one of the early books I read of John Maxwell, Failing Forward, which is that's what you do. You got to you've got to fail, expect to fail, and then figure out and learn. Just never let a failure be so catastrophic that you lose the ground you've gained.
Right.